Institute of Heart Math has demonstrated that more information flows from the heart to the brain as opposed to flowing from the brain to the heart. So it's really asking us and showing us to tap into the intelligence of the heart. It was Buddha who said that we should think with our heart, and that our brain, our mind is really only good for playing video games. And so I think that what we're learning from heart math and what people are starting to just wake up to, it's like this universal movement. People are realizing that we need to spend more attention to our heart. By doing so, we not only connect with our own intuition, but we connect with the hearts of others and the heart of the planet and the environment. So it's become a global movement. There are people going back to Candace Pert in the early 70s who wrote Molecules of Emotion. Was part of the team that demonstrated that, yes, the heart contains these neuropeptide receptor sites of all the different emotions in the body. And so we're finding cardiologists are now saying, yeah, the heart has all the components of the brain. But I think that we've kind of missed the boat a little bit. I think that the heart is the brain. I mean, that just goes back to that ancient wisdom that that we need to focus on the big brain, the maxi brain of the heart. We can boil it down to the numbers, and we can show how the heart is connected to the diameter of the Earth and the diameter of the Moon and that kind of thing. But I like to look at it musically, that when we deep breathe, we're synchronizing the theta brain waves in our brain. And those theta brain waves in that state is more of a meditative state. It opens us up to intuition. And that brainwave state, when it's harmonized with the breath, we get this ratio of 72 heartbeats per minute. Along with the breath, these deep breaths ends up being like one breath every 4 seconds, which is 15 breaths per minute. And 15 is just a quarter note of 60. So if we look at it as a ratio of 72 to 60, that's really 6 to 5, which is a musical minor third. And so the equation to happiness, I think, is when we're in that state where we're harmonizing our breath with our heart and we're tapping into our intuition. That's where the whole unlimited power of the universe is really at our disposal. The idea, going back to when we have an issue or when we have an upset in our life, there's always a behind-the-scene obstacle, which is the way our mind perceives things. And then the action is tapping into the heart intelligence. So there's always this triangle, the issue, the obstacle, and the action. And what I teach in the workshop through the method of Scalar Heart Connection is how to tap in to the heart's innate intelligence to identify what is the real issue behind what's manifesting in our lives. What is the real obstacle, the negative belief that we have that's holding us in that negative situation, and tapping into the heart's intelligence to help us shift that vibration, shift our perception. And when we do that, we change our reality. We change what we're experiencing. That is the beauty of this method and methods that are similar to it, where they're designed to help us communicate and have that conversation with our heart so that we can really fine-tune and really focus on what is the message coming from our heart. And I find that in time, when you're using this method, it just helps you develop your own internal intuition, and I think to a point where we won't even need these methods anymore. It will just be automatic. So it's really a tool. It's really a bridge to help us go from our habit of mind thinking into a new paradigm of heart thinking. The heart saying that it's connected to the vibration of space-time. And the problem is our mind comes in with its fear, and that acts like static in the background, which breaks up that communication. So we don't get the message from the heart because it keeps being broken up by our thinking and our fears and worries, our anxieties. The method asks you to pick a number, and behind the number is a series of different emotional centers. And we're asking the heart to tell us which emotional center is overactivated around whatever issue that we might be having in our lives. And the heart will tell us. And once we identify that emotional center, we're then asking the heart, well, what is the emotion that is being overactivated? And where is that emotion coming from? Which is usually a negative belief that our mind has around that particular issue. So we're identifying that specific belief that the mind has. And then we're asking the heart to show us another number that is related to the positive approach or the positive perspective that we need to take in order to overcome that obstacle so we can change our reality. And once we have that information, we start to know the emotional center, we start to get a feel for the vibration of that positive aspect. And I use what I call a quantum healing code. And these codes are basically vibrations that are tuned to the various chakras. And they're compiled in a way that they create chords. So during the session, we're getting the information that is essentially helping us to put those codes together so that when you listen to that vibration, it's not just listening to the vibration because it's pleasing to listen to, but because it's tied to all that other subconscious stuff that we're holding on to. And we've been holding on to this from childhood. All these beliefs that we have about ourselves are conditioned beliefs from parental conditioning, from teacher conditioning, societal conditioning. So we're really trying to break through all of that and open ourselves to entirely new horizons, new possibilities. Seeing is patterns that they have about themselves, how they view themselves, and how that affects their relationships, how it affects their career, their sense of purpose. And generally what happens is the system will take them back to where did that limiting belief come from. And not to blame our parents, but in our childhood, children sometimes will take on a belief that they may erroneously apply to parental behavior and then begin to personalize that and feel, well, there's something wrong with me. And one of the most satisfying things for me is to have the person suddenly get the awareness, this big aha moment that says, oh, I totally misunderstood that. That's not what happened. That my parent was only trying to help me, or my teacher was only doing this for this reason. And that, in fact, I am worthy of these good things in my life. And so that big aha moment just changes how we perceive our current situation. With that change in perception, we have the power to change our reality. And that's what people say is like, wow, I've been looking at this problem all wrong, and once I got to the root of it, wow, it just changed. Like my relationship with my son just changed like in 24 hours. My relationships changed. Well, that's beautiful because with that freedom, then we give ourselves the freedom to create what it is our heart really wants to create.